Yo, YouTube, what's good with y'all, man? It's your boy Q, man. Back at y'all again with another video. If y'all haven't done it already, man, like, comment, share, subscribe. Y'all know the vibes, man. I just had to get on here and give my thoughts about the Joe Burrow and the Bengals situation. Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals took on the Jacksonville Jaguars this past Sunday. And in the second quarter, Joe Burrow goes down with a turf toe injury after being sacked in the second quarter. Initially, he was ruled to be questionable to return, but then shortly after that, he got ruled out of the game. And then not long after that, we got reports saying that Joe Burrow suffered a turf toe injury and he will be out for at least 3 months. And that kind of puts the nail in the coffin for the Cincinnati Bengals as far as the season goes. Jake Browning definitely went in there, I believe, and he made some plays and or whatnot. But I don't really think that's sustainable throughout a duration of a season. Like, how much trust can you have in Jake Browning? You know what I mean? But this is definitely something that Joe Burrow has dealt with ever since his days in college. Man, Joe Burrow has been injury prone for a long time now. And yeah, we can sit here and say that the Cincinnati Bengals offensive line is bad and they don't do enough to help him out, which I don't necessarily think that's the case. I do believe that, you know, when Joe Burrow first got there, his like rookie year, yeah, the offensive line was bad and the team was bad, but that's because they just had the number one overall pick. So you're not expecting the Cincinnati Bengals to be good. You know what I mean? But over the years, I feel like the Cincinnati Bengals have catered to Joe Burrow, a lot with getting Jamar Chase, his former LSU teammate, paying T. Higgins as well, so he can have a couple of receivers to throw the ball to. But it just seems to me like, as talented as Joe Burrow is, and we know how talented Joe Burrow is, man, he can put up some insane numbers when he is on the field and he is playing. This is a guy that beat Patrick Mahomes in a playoff game at one point. So we understand how talented Joe Burrow is, but when it comes to professional sports, and especially in the NFL, man, the best ability you can have is availability. And Joe Burrow is a very injury prone quarterback, man. As good as he is, he's very injury prone. Uh, Me being a Philadelphia Eagles fan, this is something that I know all too well, especially going back with Carson Wentz. And speaking of Carson Wentz, he's going to be able to start this week for the Vikings because J.J. McCarthy went out with an injury. But yeah, man, the guy is super talented, man, but can't stay on the field. You know what I mean? And that's the Achilles heel of the Cincinnati Bengals, man. But let's just go over a couple of injuries that Joe Burrow has sustained throughout his football career. And I'm not just talking about in the NFL. We're going to go all the way back to his college days as well. So if you guys can see here in 2017, Joe Burrow underwent surgery for a broken bone in his hand during practice, which knocked him out of the competition with the Dwayne Haskins for the QB2 spot. So I'm pretty sure that's the reason why Joe Burrow ended up transferring, because he was probably supposed to beat Dwayne Haskins out for that spot, but he couldn't compete with Dwayne Haskins because he was injured, and Dwayne Haskins ended up taking off. Joe Burrow, 2020, starting quarterback for LSU, tears his rib cartilage in the first half of the 2020 college football playoffs, but national championship. I'm sorry, against Clemson, but stayed in the game and won the game. Uh, his rookie season, he suffers a torn ACL. 2021, a dislocated pinky in his throwing hand while being sacked in the first series of a game. Um, 2022 re-aggravates previous knee injury on one of the final plays against the Chiefs. 2022, Joe Burrow sprains his MCL, taking a sack in the fourth quarter in the Super Bowl. Joe Burrow sustains a calf injury during training camp, was able to return for the regular season, though. Joe Burrow tears a ligament in his wrist in the first half, week 11 against the Ravens, misses the remainder of the season. Now 2025, Joe Burrow sustains a turf toe injury, and he's at least going to miss at least 3 months of the season. So, in a nutshell, that's kind of where we're at with Joe Burrow as far as being the Cincinnati Bengals starting quarterback. Very, very talented dude. Like I said, can put up crazy numbers and can really contribute to the Bengals' success when he is on the field, but hasn't been able to stay on the field, man. And I think that's the biggest problem. I don't really necessarily know what the Cincinnati Bengals can do in this situation because you did draft Joe Burrow #1 overall. You got his buddy Jamar Chase on the team. So I don't think they're gonna try to trade Joe Burrow at all. I don't think that's really the way to go about it because Joe Burrow is still the one of the most talented quarterbacks in the NFL. I just think that with Joe Burrow being as injury prone as he is, I think that moving forward, the Cincinnati Bengals need to invest more into the offensive line a little bit. And I just think they also need to invest in a very valuable backup uh, veteran quarterback. Other than Jake Browning, I don't know if Jake Browning is going to be able to sustain any success with the Cincinnati Bengals now that Joe Burrow is injured. But you never know. I mean, they still have a pretty good team, like as far as Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and all that. But come on, man, let's just be for real, man. If you're trying to compete for a Super Bowl and you're trying to compete with the Ravens and the Steelers, I just don't think Jake Browning is going to be the guy that's going to be able to get you there. I'm sorry, but that's just how I'm looking at things. You know what I mean? Can Jake Browning win the Cincinnati Bengals a few games? Sure, he can. But long term, man, if you're a Cincinnati Bengals fan, man, you can't really expect too much now. You know what I mean? Depending on where the Cincinnati Bengals are in their season when it comes to December or late December or early January or wherever they're at, if they're no longer in the playoff hunt, does it even make sense to bring Joe Burrow back? Would it even make sense if the Cincinnati Bengals are like 6-10 or whatever record they have by the time Joe Burrow is able to return and play? Does it make sense to even bring him back to risk injury? You know what I mean? So I just think that the Cincinnati Bengals season is over. It's just sad and it's unfortunate because the season just started, man. But if Joe Burrow is not there, which Joe Burrow is the best offensive player that they have by far, then I just don't see the Cincinnati Bengals really making much noise this season, and I don't really see them going too far either. You know what I mean? But that's kind of my thoughts on the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow's injury. Hopefully he comes back. You know what I mean? Because, like I said before, man, when he's on the field and playing, he's one of the best quarterbacks in football. You know what I mean? But that's pretty much all I have for y'all, man. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Y'all know the vibes, man, and I'm going to get up with y'all in the next video, man. Peace.